All right, here we go, Nick. Top of the ninth. Top of the ninth. That's what we're looking for at home games. Suitor, is that who we got?
Going bold, huh?
I just think it's kind of unique how that one run changes things that dramatically.
No, that's Pagan.
Okay, it's Pagan. All right, I'm all in on that. That was the grand slam. That was the Suitor was coming in for the grand slam. Just seen the first pitch.
Love it.
0-2. You're probably like 2 seconds ahead of me.
I'm 0-2.
I think you're 2 seconds ahead
13, 12, 11.
Yeah, nope, not there yet. 13,
right,
12, 11,
right.
10, 9, 8, 7, 5.
All right, I pause it right when
4.
the ball gets back to Pagan.
All right, throw it back to Pagan.
All right. We're partying.
That was a bold move right there. I'm at 10.
9, 8. Yep, we're
7. All right. We're here. We're back. Here we go.
Yeah. Let's go.
That's an out.
Let's go.
That's an out, chat. 1 out. Four-run lead. Throw the ball over the plate.
No,
That's right.
Put 2 more runs on there.
Make sure you have it on the back half, too, or else,
It says 0-0 right now. I wait till it goes final because if I don't, it's better if it says 0-0 than an incorrect score, in my humble opinion.
That's fair. All right.
Shout out to the Daytona Tortugas. Just finished out a 17-6 win.
Wow. Okay. When you said 17, 2 outs, my initial thought was you're going to say 17 innings, which would have been a really long night.
Andrew, CES is a defensive specialist. Okay. That's what he's always been.
Right.
I mean,
he did make some good plays tonight. He made the pick that he made was a massive play.
Yeah, I mean that gets past him. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yep, 100%. Yep. Find yourself in a spot where now his Ashcraft's kind of reeling a little bit, probably.
Yep. And the second run might have come around the score to tie the game.
Yeah. Well, that was the
bases
first.
Were loaded. Yeah.
That was the first outing that I can remember that Ashcraft came into a tight spot where he actually didn't come into a clean inning. He actually was a reliever.
I think
it was
you're right.
Kind of like a different, which we'll obviously talk about during the show a little bit, maybe, or at least I'll bring that up during the show. But yeah, I was kind of worried about that because it did feel like he walked the first guy and that was a big out.
I do like how Emilio said his comments were like, "Oh, I'm fine with whatever role. Diaz is a great closer," and he know damn well that he was going to stay the closer.
He knew.
High IQ PR on his part. And I respect it. I respect it.
No, he knew the answer. We all knew. At least I felt like we all should have known the answer. But hey, that ball's hit the center. It's hit pretty well. TJ Friedel's on the track at the wall. Not quite enough. You know what they say about Great American Ballpark? It takes a big fly to get it out. It's probably the only spot in the park where that thing wasn't going to go out. But you know what? Reds win. We got a show to do, so it's time to do it.
Bench to bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. That goes Clemente. It's the save. He's done. Get out of here, baseball. He's gone. Oh, my God. Can you believe it? Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep. In the dirt. It's a wild pitch. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant. Larkins won the game. That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none. Welcome, Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again. Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Hatteberg's a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded. The outfield deep and around toward right to the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on. Long drive. Right field. And this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive. Hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club. Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McLain's first big league bomb. Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again. The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the wall, Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Reds win! Line to the right field. Genius, the first Red ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first and Homer Bailey for the second time in his major league career has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, Nick. That's not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. You know, that wasn't all that bad of a statement by LeBron in hindsight, if you think about it. And I don't really want to go down the path of saying the same thing about this Reds team. But when you watch a game like tonight, it's not easy to sit back and just try to play, oh, it's early, isn't it? I mean, that's the game that I was hopeful that this team could finally find a way to win, Nick. A game that they got down, you felt like the offense was going to have to probably propel through, find a way to get some clutch hits, and I mean to tell you, Austin Hayes might as well be Barry Bonds at this very moment for this baseball team. Because it was the home run was great. There's no doubt. But even the big time hit that allowed them to kind of start to break the ice there, that felt maybe even better. Nick, I don't know how you feel. You're probably going to tell me I'm overreacting again, and that's fine. We'll keep doing that song and dance. But I'm starting to think that this team's a little bit better than many of us thought maybe a week and a half ago.
That was a fun win, man. That home run by Hayes, I think pretty clearly the signature moment of the season so far to date. Reds only had one comeback win, Trace, all year. It was the second game of the season, and they came back from down 1 run early in the game. So this was a legitimate comeback win, came back twice. So nice to see it. And I'm with you that the rally in the fourth inning, I think it was, where they put together, good at bat after good at bat, drew some walks, had some hits. That's just the thing that's been missing with this team. And so, yeah, I mean, the home run was a great moment, but that rally was also something that really makes you feel, okay, all right, maybe this offense can be at least serviceable, and maybe even a little better than that once a little bit more reinforcements come along and some better roles get established.
The offense just needs to be serviceable. I think that's the word you just used, and I think that's as well put as you can have it. They don't need to be great. I mean, would we like them to be great? Would we like them to be even above league average at some point during our fandom? Yes, it's been a long time since the Reds have been an above average hitting team. But I just kind of get myself to a point where it's like, if they can just find a way to be 15th through 19th in Major League Baseball, maybe from a weighted runs created plus type situation, I think that this team has a legitimate chance to hang around. They just do. And largely because of a lot of things that we're going to talk about in this show. And as always, I appreciate you watching this show, telling your friends about it, spreading the word. Our numbers have continued to climb, and a lot of it's just because of you guys spreading the good word of Chatterbox Sports. 500 plus in here tonight. If you will do me a favor before we get started, hit the like button if you haven't already. That's just some stupid YouTube algorithm that they make people do to allow YouTube to realize that people like this show. Why they do that, I don't know. Don't ask me. Do you think that I want to, after a big win, ask you to hit the like button? I don't, but I have to. That's just what I have to do. So here I am trying to do my job. Speaking of doing jobs, Nick, you have to do the box score recap, and then we can kind of get in some fun things. This is going to be a fun show. I'm sure at times we'll bring up something maybe from time to time we'd like to see more of. But outside of that, I'd like to try to do my best tonight to focus on all the things that this team has done well over the last 4 games, and more specifically tonight, Nick. I know you have a hard time of doing that.
No, I'm excited. I mean, this was a big win. This was the first time, not the first. They haven't beat a lot of good pitchers, and Luis Castillo is a good pitcher. And I mean, the whole hoopla of facing Castillo and should you trade him, that was all cute. But the main thing was the Reds beat a good pitcher tonight, and that was great to see.
That they did, and I mean they had to fight to get. I don't think it was handed to them. They had some good at bats, so we'll get into it. All right, box score recap presented by your man, none other, Nick Kirby.
All right, Reds taking on the Seattle Mariners, the red-hot Seattle Mariners. They came in just as hot as the Reds. Reds kicking off their final series of the homestand. Nick Lodolo against Luis Castillo. Luis Castillo's first ever start against the Cincinnati Reds. Didn't get off to a good start in this one. 2 pitches into the game, Dylan Moore destroyed a sinker from Lodolo, 429 feet, 1-0 Seattle, and the Reds went very quietly in the bottom of the first. Luis Castillo retired TJ Friedl, Matt McLain, and Elly De La Cruz on 7 pitches. In the top of the second, Dylan Moore came back up to the plate with 2 outs and drove home the game's second run with a single, 2-0 Mariners. Bottom of the third, though, Jose Trevino had a leadoff double. Matt McLain would walk with 1 out, and then with 2 outs, Gavin Lux singled home the Reds' first run of the game. Then the next batter, Austin Hayes, crushed a single at 105.5 off the bat in his Cincinnati Reds debut. We were all tied at 2. Lodolo had settled in. He retired 7 straight batters entering the 5th inning, but after he hit J.P. Crawford, Dylan Moore struck again. This time Moore destroyed a first pitch changeup That made it 4-2 Seattle. Scott Barlow would end up coming in and getting out of the 5th inning. Lodolo's final line, 4 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. But the Reds came right back at it in the bottom of the 5th against Castillo. Matt McLain and Elly De La Cruz walked to lead off the inning. Gavin Lux singled to make it 4-3, and then Austin Hayes crushed a home run to center field. That made it 6-4 Cincinnati. Castillo's day would be done. His final line, 4 1/3, 7 hits, 6 runs, 4 walks, just 3 strikeouts. Reds would add 2 more runs in the 8th, and the combo of Alexis Diaz, Graham Ashcraft, Tony Santillan, and Emilio Pagan finished off the Mariners. Reds win 8-4. Reds have won 4 straight, 6 of 7. Reds now 9-8 on the season. The first time your Cincinnati Reds have been above 500 since May 1st, 2024.
Beautiful. And this was the deepest drive of all deep drives that we've had this season. Austin Hayes, the new man in town, just walks right up in a spot where I was begging for a sacrifice fly. And when he hit it, I even thought to myself, Nick, that's my guy right there. He knows the situation. He's just got to do a job. And by God, when he does a job, it's 103.9 off the bat, 404 feet. Instead of a sac fly, it was a homer. First of the year, 3-run variety. Bottom of the 5th inning, that would give the Reds a 6-4 lead. Their win probability, for those that care, would jump 20%, 19.7 if you're into calculators, but I'm not. 82% at the time, but as we all know, it would wind up being 100%. And it is also the DSC Deep Drive of the Day. And DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Well, here's the thing, Nick. I got a couple things that I kind of want to get before I forget them. I think they're really, really small things. Austin Hayes is the lead story here. I don't want to bury the lead, as they say, but I thought CES had some big plays that I want to make sure that we definitely touch on at some point in this show. Defensively, I know offensively it's not where we'd all like it to be. We'll talk about that here in just probably later on the back half. But I want to say something. I think J.R. House has been on my you-know-what list. It's a kid show. I'm going to keep it kid-friendly. But it starts with an S, ends with a T. He's been on that list for me based off of sins he's had in the past. And I will openly admit tonight, when he sent Matt McLain home with nobody out in the inning, I thought to myself, I just don't understand why we're sending a guy home when it's going to be that close at the plate. And I want to tell you, when the kid, and I say kid, I don't mean it that way, when they threw the ball away and we moved up to second and third, I thought to myself, that's a great send by J.R. House. No one's going to say it. You're not going to hear it in the postgame presser. They didn't bring it up during the game. I'm just going to openly say, J.R. House, you did a great job tonight. No one's ever going to tell you do a good job. You can't say that anymore. We just said it on our show. J.R. House did a good job tonight. There'll be a time in this series, and hopefully not the series, but this season, where we probably don't say that he does a good job. So I just want to get that out of the way. It's a positive show. I want to bring J.R. House into the positive show.
I love it. I did not have J.R. House praise on my bingo card for the show, but you know what?
That's why you tune in.
We keep the people on their toes here around these parts.
I'm just saying, it was a good send. It made
him.
You know what? It put pressure on the defense. They threw the ball home, and you know what? That's one more thing I want to bring up. The whole catchers trying to pretend that the ball's not coming to them sometimes, which it works out every so often, right? They're trying to decoy the runner and make him think there's not going to be a play at the plate. They're just standing there like a lump on a log, assuming that maybe the runner will maybe pull up or something and the ball's still coming and they catch it last second and tag. That bit him in the tail tonight. He didn't make that play because he was trying to deke McLain, and it just didn't work out, and it was in the Reds' favor. So just small things that happen during a game that, hey, kind of keep an eye on from time to time. So we'll do supers here in just a bit, but let's jump into Austin Hayes. It couldn't have been much of a better start. I mean, outside of pulling like an Aquino or Reese Hines or something where you hit 3 home runs or something along those lines. it was nice to see. I also love the fact that we're going to make a big deal about the fact that he doesn't wear batting gloves. That's fun to me. I can't wait to hear about that all season. But your overall impressions of Austin Hayes.
Yeah, I mean, what a debut. Tell you what, this guy hit in spring training, looked really good in spring training. Had a home run down at AAA during his rehab assignment. I mean, he's certainly looked the part of a guy that said when he got signed by the Reds, I'm on a mission to prove that 2024 was a fluke. It was because of that kidney infection. That's not who I am. I'm the all-star in 2023. And until this guy proves otherwise, I believe him. I mean, what other choice do we really have? I mean, this guy, I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of Austin Hayes, but I'm excited. I'm certainly excited about him. For an offense that, the Reds went 5-1 last week, Trace, and the offensive numbers, I looked them up yesterday. They were brutal. Like, I didn't even realize they were that bad. Let's see. I have it here. The Reds hit 181 with a 540 OPS last week. So they clearly needed an upgrade, and Austin Hayes certainly helps with that. Matt McLain, who we'll get to in a second, just adds so much to this offense. I mean, I hate to say his presence because that's so cliche, but my God, That guy's just presence in the lineup. It is palpable.
The one thing that you had mentioned that really nobody when things go bad, nobody really wants to hear about the excuses, right? And I don't either. And I don't, we're not trying to make excuses for what was maybe a little bit of poor roster management this offseason. But I think the point still stands that when you have guys that get hurt in the manner in which the Reds have had injuries, especially when you look at it from the offensive perspective, the lineup is shrunk so much at the beginning of the season where you expected it, as you said before, you might not have murderer's row per se, 1 through 3 or 1 through 4 at times, but you at least felt comfortable with the depth of the lineup. If you have a guy like Tyler Stevenson hitting 8th, or maybe even, and I know people will crush me for saying Candelario, but even if like Candelario's hitting 7th, when you're looking at the lineup, you're thinking to yourself, that's something to get behind. Well, you take out Stevenson, you take out Hayes, you take out McLain, and this thing looks pretty dire at times. Now, am I here to say that it should be that way? No, I'm not trying to make excuses, but that's the reality. And Austin Hayes tonight proves that if you have one good solid bat in the middle of your lineup, to even be able to protect Elly at times, or make sure that, if there is a big situation that comes up, you're going to maybe come through every once in a while, because the same holes that we've had, they still existed tonight, Nick. The only difference was that you got guys on base at the top of the lineup in Matt McLain, Elly's Elly, and then Austin Hayes delivered a really big swing. And there were other moments in this game where other guys didn't, but it doesn't need to be everybody being on in the same single night. And that's what has happened, if you want to call it that, a couple times this year. They scored 14 runs, 16 runs, and outside of that, it was nothing. So am I here to say that the offense is all the way back? We should be thrilled to death, and we're going to expect 5 runs or more on a nightly basis? Of course not. But I also think that this is a little bit closer to what the expectation should be for this Reds team than what it was a couple weeks ago. And I don't think that's, earth-shattering news, but I do think it's safe to remind people, Nick, that 1 or 2 players in a lineup is a pretty big damn deal. And I don't think that anybody should try to shy away from using it as at least a semi-reasonable excuse as to why there are times where this team will struggle. So I don't know how much more there is to say how much Hayes means in the middle of the lineup, and McLain.
And it matters a lot more, too, when you don't have a bunch of superstars, right? I mean, if you're the New York Yankees and you have Aaron Judge and Juan Soto at the top of your lineup, like, you can kind of get by with a miserable 6 through 9, which they did at times last year. I mean, the Reds don't have that. Elly De La Cruz we believe is that guy, but he hasn't hit like that to this point. And so, I mean, the depth of the lineup is far more important to a team like the Reds than most of the teams probably in Major League Baseball. So, yeah, I mean, look, the offense is not all the way back by any stretch of the imagination, but man, this was a breath of fresh air tonight. They got 2 more really tough pitchers the next 2 days. It would be nice if, I think maybe a good expectation would be, can they hit one of these 2 pitchers? Like, they could have one night where they don't, one night where they do. I think you get to the end of the series, I'd feel pretty good.
I agree with what you just said, because I think that ultimately, if you have decent depth in your lineup, which they've not had, and I'm hopeful that they'll continue to get closer to that, especially with Hayes. McLain needs to stay healthy. And then they're going to need a little bit of help from one of these guys that are struggling, right? And I'm not trying to beat on anybody tonight. I'm really not. I don't want to go down the path of bringing up guys that are struggling. I'm sure they'll come up, obviously, in an hour-long show. But my main point in this is that you can't go 3 games in a row where you look as pitiful as this Reds lineup has looked at times, right? Like, if you're going to claim that you have good depth in your lineup, there should be at least some threats once or twice in every single game. I'm not saying that you can't get shut out every so often. That's going to happen. It's baseball. I'm not saying that you can't kind of get a little bit of a team slump where, just things aren't going right. But, Nick, we had a stretch of baseball there where we weren't hitting the ball hard. We weren't having very many good at-bats. And there was zero what I would call offensive momentum at any point in those games. It just felt like we had one bad approach after the next bad approach. And I would say, if anything, what Matt McLain probably does do at the top of that lineup more than anything, you said maybe he sets a tone or all these things. I just think he looks like a big league hitter. He takes great at bats more times than not, and he walks. And I think at some point that will become obviously, hopefully a valuable commodity of TJ Friedel as well, to where between TJ and Matt McLain, I think Francona's hope is that more times than not, Elly's going to come to the plate with an opportunity to drive guys in. Clearly, that's the idea behind it, because otherwise you would want to hit Elly first because you'd get him more at-bats. Maybe he could get on base, steal a couple bags, and give opportunities to someone else to drive him in. But clearly Francona feels like, although he has not proven it yet, that maybe Elly has a lot of pop in that bat, and he's going to end up being a bopper. We'll find out. But otherwise, from an offensive perspective tonight, Lux had some great at-bats, and I think it's also a little poetic that he finally kind of got a break. I felt like Lux for a while there was putting together good at-bats, and there was just things weren't going his way, or maybe kind of he'd get 2 at-bats in a game, and then his 3rd and 4th at-bat were against left-handed pitching, which we both have said many times it's probably not the spot where he will be the most successful. You can argue with the wall on whether or not you like the platoon idea or not. I don't care. I'm not trying to get into that. I'm just saying in general, it's nice to see Lux have some success.
Gavin Lux goes from a 216 batting average to a 273 batting average and a 616 OPS to a 710 OPS. What a difference one night can make to your your stat line this early in the season.
And I think I think that's a good reminder for guys like CES and maybe even Candelario. Like, I know that it's looked bad on those parts. We can all understand that. But if you want to make a positive spin on it, it's like they're one good week. And I know that's a far stretch from what we've seen. But they genuinely are one good week from being like, okay, it's really not that bad. Now, I think that we have just become, as Reds fan base, so overly anxious to have a good offense because we have not had a good offense for an incredibly long time. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I've seen the likes of saying our WRC plus over the last 20 years or whatever has been below league average, which, I mean, that's hard to do, but that's how it's been. So we're just dying for some of these guys to come out and be explosively hot, and we have a team that scores more than the other ones. It's funny because the football team in town is quite literally the opposite of what this baseball team is going to be. I mean, they are the exact opposites. The only hope that you have for one of the teams in town is that the opposite side of the ball that can't figure it out, if you want to call it that, just becomes average. And that's what I think we're all hoping for this offense. Just be average. That's all this team needs. Anything else before we jump into the back half?
Nope.
All right, folks. If you haven't already, please like the stream. Thank you so much for jumping in here after the games. I know that on nights like tonight, Reds win 4 in a row. More people in here. That's great. I'm all about that. The one thing that I'm also about is supers, and I very much appreciate everybody not only supporting the show by hitting the like button, but also financially supporting the show. Fergie Fowler decides she's going to do a super chat here to lead things off and says the wave works. The wave. See, I said I was going to keep a positive show, and I'm going to stay on the positive side of this. I'm going to try to stay on the positive side of this. If you're down at the ballpark tonight, as cold as it was on a weeknight, you do whatever the hell you want. You do whatever the hell you want. You know what? You want to do the wave? You do the wave. Clearly, people want to do the wave. I just ask if we could possibly do the wave. You know, I feel like that kind of like a negotiator, like maybe the third grade teacher trying to negotiate with the 4 or 5 kids in their class that just don't seemingly want to behave. You know, hey, you can maybe do this if you do this. If we could just move it up in the game a little bit, maybe like the 5th inning, Nick, somewhere in there, 6th inning. It's a tough thing to see when I'm fighting in the 8th inning to get outs, and I just see the wave going. We got the bases loaded with Elly De La Cruz coming up, and there goes the wave. I like it. What?
I have an idea. How about we put a leverage meter up somewhere on the scoreboard? And when the leverage is up, we'll like put some sort of easy number for the folks to understand.
Right.
When it's above a 50, you're not allowed to do the wave. When it's below, it's fair game. And that way they know, and they're better educated. You know, we're all about education around here.
That's right. Let's lock it in. I'd like for there to be like a lock it in period. Maybe they could just let everybody know it's time to lock it in. Let's get fired up. You know, pull out the beach balls, do the wave. Maybe, you know, take your kids to get some cotton candy. Do it at all, you know, maybe in the middle innings. But that's, who knows, here nor there. All right. We have RD711 says Ashcraft, Santee, and Paganas, Charlton, Dibble, and Myers, the nasty boys. I'm not going to go that far, but I like the idea of that. Ned Flanders says, don't let Jake Fraley get hot. Hashtag believe in the Viking. I hope so. I hope so. You got anything to say, Nick?
I hope so as well.
Yeah, all right, good. That's how you keep it positive. Daniel Meyer says fireball. I mean, come on, Daniel. Fireball? Really?
It's a 6:40 game on a Tuesday night, brother.
Listen, I got my family members coming down here to throw me fireball shots. You know what? This is for you, Daniel. Nobody else gets the privilege of this. I do not want to see any more fireball supers. I'm not doing that. It's a what is the night? Tuesday night. Those Monday off days really throw me through a loop. It's a Tuesday night, and we need to keep things responsible is what we'll say. Oh, man. Those always go down really smooth. Andrew Scobie. Scobie, how's it going, buddy? He said, it's great to see Austin Hayes back. Definitely can be a difference maker in the outfield, or is he the DH maybe? I don't know, Andrew. I'm not sure where they put him. We'll talk about that maybe here in a minute. But
based on some of the comments, it makes me believe that you're going to see a combination of Hayes DHing and McLain DHing quite a bit, which I like. I like McLain DHing a little bit more to kind of help keep him fresh. So that's what it sounds like. And that'll also get Espinal in the field, which I think we both agree we would probably like to see that a little bit more.
Bryce says, if we had average hitting with the pitching we have, I'd be thrilled. Hashtag ATOBTTR. That means, and this one belongs to the Reds, 4 in a row. That's right, Bryce. We just need to be average, literally. Sir Boy Wonder said, is the season over with a question mark? I mean, no, I don't think so. Boy, it looked like it, though, at times. We can't act like it didn't look like it. It was getting pretty dire. It's 3-7. Is that crazy?
I mean, the Reds are... I'm not gonna say.
All right, go ahead. Just shut up. Ned Flanders and Jim don't want to listen to me. They chimed in fireball and fireball. Okay, look, guys. I can't do this, all right? I can't do this. So maybe at the end of the show, but we can't be packing fireball shots 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 on a nightly basis unless it's Friday. And I tell you what, if we win the pennant, I will be absolutely one of two things. We'll just say I'll be intoxicated on this show. That will happen. If the Reds can find a way to make the postseason, I promise you that there will be that will be an all-time show. All right. As always, thank you for supporting our show. Please hit the like button if you haven't already, and also thank you to the folks that support the show on a nightly basis, like the Game Time. The Game Time app. It's a beautiful place to go and look for tickets at any time you may need it, day and or night. Just download the app, have it on your phone. Okay, you can go into the settings there and you can punch in a promo code. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but you got to use the code CBOX. That's CBOX. Just download the app, put in the code CBOX. You get a little bit of time to use it, so just feel it out. There might be a day that you're thinking, all right, I think I want to go down to the yard today. I want to go get some peanuts and some Cracker Jacks. Maybe even, take the family with you. You can get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. I like the Game Time app largely because it's reliable. 2 clicks, in, out. Click the all-in pricing button, as I've said thousands of times, and you don't really have to worry about getting to the end of the whole checkout process and seeing that the tickets that you thought were $20 are now $40. You don't have to do that with the Game Time app, and it's the official ticketing partner of Chatterbox Reds. So download the Game Time app today. Please use the promo code CBOX, CBOX, for $20 off your first purchase. And as always, on a night like tonight, maybe you don't think it's as big of a deal. The Reds are 9-8, but always remember, please, that 988 is available day or night, 24/7, anonymous hotline. It's okay to not be okay. Please, as always, reach out. It's just like you see it all the time too. Not to get too deep in the weeds here on a nightly show like this, but even a kid like Karen Lacey, LSU wide receiver, sad story, but you never know. They could have loved ones that might need some help. Let everyone know that you love them and that there's always help available. 988. All right, jumping into the back half, Nick. We have the bullpen. And we also have, obviously, the starter who came out relatively early. This was one of the few times this year where the Reds found a way to win a game where the starter, I don't want to say he didn't have his best stuff. I don't want to make it like he wasn't serviceable by any stretch of the imagination. But he didn't go deep into the game. He required, the bullpen needed to help him out. And it was nice to see more or less that Lodolo almost got the opposite effect of what Hunter Green has experienced most of his last, we'll call it 365 days pitching for the Reds.
Yeah, Lodolo just threw a couple really bad pitches to one of the sneaky good hitters in baseball against left-handed pitching in Dylan Moore. He's one of the platoon all-stars. He's a big got a big fandom in Nick Kirby's heart. They just made a couple really bad pitches. I do like that Lodolo has only walked, I think, 2 batters so far in 4 starts. So he's overall he's attacked. It wasn't really his night, but he kind of battled through it. He did have a little run there with where he settled in. But just a couple mistake pitches. You move on to the next start. It's going to be a long season, but very encouraged with what I've seen with Lodolo overall so far.
100%. I think Nick Lodolo is one of those guys where you kind of almost even like the way that it's gone from an injury perspective, it almost gives him a longer leash with the fan base based off of kind of how he performs in general, right? He's throwing the ball well, so it doesn't matter. But even if Lodolo got off to a slow start, if the most important thing with Lodolo this year, by far and away, in my opinion, is going to be innings pitched. You might say to me, hey, how many strikeouts, how many swing and miss, what's his, whiff rate of this or that? I don't care about any of that. I think Nick Lodolo will be more than fine no matter what happens if you give him an extended period of time with big numbers. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm just encouraged to see him feel like there hasn't been anything slowing him down, whether it be a blister or anything else this year, which is by far and away the most important thing with Nick Lodolo. Diaz, he finally got an opportunity to come out of the bullpen tonight. Nick clearly came out reports before the game that he was not going to take the starter's role or the closer's role. And to be honest, like that should have been fairly obvious in my opinion. And I know that the other night you proposed a question and I kind of like scoffed it off and laughed and said, no. Diaz came into a spot tonight where it was pretty high leverage, in my opinion. And it was an Alexis Diaz inning. It was a little ugly, and he found a way to get the ball over the plate, get some outs, get out with it without a run. But you also kind of think, Nick, like, man, can we keep doing this and getting away with walking guys? And at some point, it's going to catch up to us, right?
Yeah, I mean, he did get absolutely squeezed by the home plate umpire. It was all over the place. 4 pitches that would have been called strikes by ABS. One of them was one that I would say would be really tough, but it did touch. The other 3 were clearly strikes. So again, it's hard to, you're not going to make too big of a deal about an outing where he didn't get a good strike zone at all. But yeah, I mean, good to see him make his debut. It was supposed to be at a low leverage spot with the Reds down 2 runs. It ends up being at a higher leverage spot where the Reds are up 2 runs, and he overall got the job done. And you move along. It was just interesting, kind of the way this unfolded, because it felt like the Reds were kind of waffling on what they were going to do with him, and maybe it was intentional. Maybe they just kind of wanted to keep their options open because they didn't want to say, yeah, we're not going to make Alexis Diaz our closer. And then Emilio Pagan blows 3 saves over the weekend against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And you go, yeah, well, you know what? We'll just throw Diaz back out there. I felt like they were kind of waiting till the last possible moment to decide what they were going to do with him. And I kind of understand to a degree why they would do that.
I very much appreciate what Emilio Pagan has done. Like,
yeah,
I think that is also one of maybe the most underdeserving or underappreciated, not underdeserving, underappreciated roles, and somebody that stepped into a role and filled it with as best of execution as you could possibly ask for. I mean, he has done a fabulous job to where now Diaz, at least in a semblance of a chance to be able to kind of get his feet wet again and have some innings underneath his belt and not be put maybe in some crazy high leverage situations. Because this team is going to have plenty of back-end, high-leverage situations this year, all year long, right? Like, that's the one thing I kind of want to emphasize is that this team, specifically, the way their offense is, the way the pitching staff, starting pitching staff is, there's going to be high-leverage situations more times than not in the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th inning. And there are going to be times where I think the 7th inning is going to be the most important inning of all of them because you have maybe the 2, 3, 4 coming up in the order, the best hitters in the lineup in the 7th inning, and in the 9th inning, it might not be as high of leverage. So I just think that this is, if we want to call it kind of the manager, how much they matter, don't matter, that's a debate for another day. But I think what I do want to emphasize is that Terry Francona, if nothing else, has the respect and the pedigree and the ability to kind of just dictate the way things should go. And I think you're going to have respect from the clubhouse. I'm not downplaying David Bell and his ability to kind of analytically affect the game and the way in which he managed at times was just as good as anyone else could have done. But the one thing that David Bell, in my opinion, probably lacked was just the ability to tell guys this is what your role is going to be and you're going to like it, and they'll actually accept it. Like, you know, I think Tito Francona could tell almost anybody on that team, hey, and he's going to be able to deliver the message in a way in which they're going to probably like it better than others. Hey, I need you to do this for me right now. I know that's probably not what you have done in the past. I know that might not be what you like to do, but for our team to win, I need you to do this right now. And I think that that's probably what Tito said to Diaz when he came back up. And for Diaz's sake, his role in this team is just as important now as it will be if he's closing games down, in my opinion, because he's going to have just as many opportunities to do what he did tonight. Try to make sure you stall the momentum and you keep a 2-run lead, and then you hand the ball over to the closer tonight. And let's face it, Emilio Pagan had what I would call less of a difficult situation than what Alexis Diaz had tonight. So you never know in the back end of the bullpen.
Yeah, Reds bullpen now up to 5th in Major League Baseball, a 2.96 ERA. And you to mention Pagan, I mean, Pagan blows a couple of those saves, it's a whole different.
It is
not season, but it's a whole different vibe around this team right now. I mean, that's the margin kind of where they're at. So he's definitely been a huge asset. And this is the whole bullpen overall. Ashcraft struggled with his command, but then, rallied, got 4 outs today. Tony Santillan, 0.84 ERA, another perfect inning for him. I mean, he's just unbelievable. This bullpen has been fantastic. Let's kind of pump the brakes a little bit, because let's see how Tony Santillan and Graham Ashcraft look in the dog days of August as relievers. But early returns are fantastic. And the good news is you still have a couple big-time weapons down at AAA. It's not like this is the be-all, end-all of this bullpen. I don't think they need to rush Zach Maxwell up. I don't think they need to rush Luis May up. But they have those guys if these other guys start to falter. And it's not just maybe this is a Band-Aid solution. It's a chance to be a dominant solution.
I agree wholeheartedly with what you just said. Zach Maxwell, 100%. If it was the postseason started tomorrow and the Reds were making their postseason roster, I actually think Maxwell would be up here.
You might be right.
I think he would be. I just think that he's better than some of the guys we currently have in there. But they need to let this thing play out a little bit, right? You just can't start yanking guys out and maybe DFAing guys that don't have options to put in a guy that does have options when there's not really a fire. And until there's a fire, there's no reason to try to put anything out with water, right? So let's just be patient with the whole situation that is maybe kind of your lower end leverage relievers in this bullpen. Maxwell, May, and the other crazy thing, I mean, it is crazy to think about, but the one area that we were really concerned with this group, which was the bullpen, is they might have legitimately 3 to 4 shutdown type arms in this bullpen come towards the end of the season. Now, can we survive long enough and be healthy enough to get there? I don't know, but there's no doubt in my mind that and not to go too crazy here, but if it was end all be all, we need to win a postseason series. There's probably going to be some of those young guys that are going to be fringe starters that would probably get an opportunity to David Price it type situation. So hopefully we just kind of keep on keeping on and hang around till the end of the season and give ourselves a chance, because I think that's what it's going to ultimately come down to. The Reds aren't going to run away with the division. Hopefully they don't find themselves way deep into the weeds, and it's going to come down to the last 30 days of the season whether they can get in or get out. So, all right, next thing, they made some roster moves today. On a night like tonight, again, I said I'm not going to be negative. I don't understand it, but I guess I just don't understand some of the moves, because like Spencer Steer seems like he's injured. His numbers suggest he is injured. He can't play the field, Nick, so he's only got one position he can play, which is DH. And I'll openly say I don't get it. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. And the CES, maybe there was something lost in translation, but it's reported that the guy's dealing with a hamstring and a back injury. It sounded like, hey, that's a pretty big deal. But, I mean, he was moving great at first base. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there was something missed in terms of how severe things were with him. So I'll be a little more patient with him. But we've seen Spencer Steer, and I don't understand, especially now that you have Austin Hayes back, and they said they want to DH Hayes, they want to DH McLain a little bit. Just put the guy on the IL. I double-checked the rules last night. You can put a guy on the IL, and you can put him on a rehab assignment the next day. You don't have to wait 10 days. Put him on the IL, give him a rehab assignment, let him go down to Louisville, let him play the field, because he should at this point be ready to play the field, and let him get some confidence back. If it's 10 days, it's 10 days and he's back up. It just, I don't understand what they're doing. Now, Marte, I have no issue with sending Noelvi Marte down, because when you look at the lineup today, it's a hard time. You have a hard time envisioning how Marte is going to play every day. And Noelvi Marte needs to play every day, whether it's the big leagues, whether it's AAA, whether it's AA, whether it's single. I don't care. The guy needs to play every day. He needs to develop. And it seems like right now there's it would be really hard to fit him into the lineup every day. I think Santiago Espinal has played well enough that he shouldn't just be completely benched, and I think you can use him a lot. So I have no issue with Marte. I know a lot of people did. I think that little small sample, overexcitement about Noelvi Marte, just like maybe at times when he's been bad, it's maybe been a little bit of an over-exaggeration too.
Listen, I 100% don't believe that Marte's all the way back just because he had a couple good games in the big leagues. I also feel like Espinal has carved out enough of a presence of what he's done so far to continue to deserve opportunities. It seems as if with McLain back in the lineup that it was either going to be a Marte or Espinal situation. I'll put my hand up in the air and say that I prefer Espinal right now, but I'll also openly say that I don't necessarily prefer Marte lesser than Steer. I don't prefer maybe Marte lesser than CES at some point. Now, there's these things that need to play out, no doubt, but I just think that and again, Terry Francona knows maybe much more about the vibes in that locker room than I do. I don't know what certain guys bring that they don't bring. I'm just looking at it from a pure perspective of what I see on the television when they play baseball. Jake Fraley is playing his butt off. I will give that guy that credit. Like, he runs incredibly hard to first base on any ball that he hits. He knows. I know the other day he missed a ball in Milwaukee, and it kind of appeared that he jogged after it in a little bit of a way. Like, it's hard to judge guys at all times in games about how much they want something or they don't want something, right? There were times where Elly was accused, Nick, that look how he's flashy. He doesn't really care. He's this, he's that. He's wearing all these chains. It's like at some point, these guys are human. They're going to make mistakes. They're probably not going to play well at times. The only real crux of the problem ultimately is how long do you give them? And that's going to be the waiting game that none of us know the answer to. It seems like Tito Francona has done this, if nothing else, Nick. You're not going to be able to blame Tito Francona for a guy struggling and him not at least getting a fair chance and quote-unquote the manager never seeing it through. Because we will have to give Tito credit if somehow Fraley turns this whole thing around and starts playing unbelievably well. I will openly admit I'm going to give Tito credit for that. The same way I'm going to give him credit for CES, the same way I'll give him credit for Candelario. We're going to need those guys to play better. And the good news is the Reds are 9-8, and those guys quite literally almost couldn't have played worse. At some point, they're going to play better, Nick. They have to. Every time Candelario comes up to the plate, I think to myself, this is it. This has to be it. A guy walks up to the line, Nick, and he's shooting 30% free throw line, right? He's a 30% free throw shooter. Let's just say, for instance, he shoots 5 free throws that game. Every time he comes up to the line, Nick, you think there's zero chance he's going to make this free throw. But statistically speaking, at some point, he probably should make at least one of those throughout the game. That's how I feel about Candelario right now. It's like, at some point, it's going to break through. It has to. It seems almost impossible for it not to. Yet, time and time again, it hasn't. So, I went out last year. I bought a boatload of candy at the gas station. I did the whole song and dance of like, let's get candy going. And it worked. And then he got hurt. I don't know if I'm going to go there yet. I'm going to give him maybe another week or so. But if this guy's still playing in a week and a half and he's still producing the same level he's producing right now, I'm going to buy out basically every gas station on the west side of Hamilton. They will not have any candy left.
Yeah, the question is not, is Candelario like this bad forever? It's, okay, can he get back to an above average hitter? That's what I don't know the answer to. Here's my most positive spin on Candelario. All right. Do you remember how bad Mike Moustakas was in 2022?
No, I don't remember.
He was pretty bad in 2022. Well, Mike Moustakas somehow still played 2 more years. And in 2023, he had a 627 OPS. Like, Candelario is at 415 right now. So I think Candelario is at least going to get to that. I think he'll get hot at some point. He's been a slow starter his whole career. He did this exact same thing last year. I just don't know how hot that reaches. That's what I don't know. But he will get hot at some point. Everyone will feel different about him at some point. It's just, can he sustain when he gets to that level? That's what I don't know the answer to.
Yeah, no, I agree. Chat's bringing up Friedel. Friedel gets a pass largely because I think he puts together what seems like somewhat competitive at bats at times. That's the weird thing about when you watch this team. If a guy goes 0 for 3 or 0 for 4 right now and they're competitive, you know, they look like they have an approach, a plan when they get there. They hit a ball hard. I mean, at this point, Nick, me and you both are kind of like, well, I mean, it's not a bad night. So the Reds are 9-8, folks. The Reds are 9-8. And I think there's 3 or 4 guys on this team that I don't think they can play any worse. Now, I might eat my words. I just don't think they can. Statistically speaking, the back of their baseball card, it might not be great, but it's not this bad. Seriously. That's where I'm at.
And TJ Friedel, if you go look at like his StatCast page, very, very small sample, but 2025, most of his metrics actually look better than 2023 when he was a 4-win player. Now, I don't think TJ Friedel's going to get back to a 4-win player, just mainly because I don't think he's as good defensively as he was back then, because I think he's lost a step. But in terms of hitting, I do think there's a lot more than what he's shown early in the year. I don't think we're going to see 4-win TJ Friedel, but right. I think he still has the potential to be at least an average center fielder. And I don't think people realize sometimes how expensive it is to go buy an average center fielder on the free agent market. It is outrageous. I mean, Harris, look at how much money Harrison Bader has made over the years. So for TJ Friedel, if he can get to an average center fielder, that would be huge for this team.
The one thing that I think that most of this fan base can reckon with is somebody that provides some semblance of substance as a baseball player. If they bring some semblance of speed on the base pass, maybe they're a pretty good defensive player. The one thing that we're frustrated with, Nick, is just guys that are offering quite literally nothing on the defensive side of the ball, and they're supposed to be our boppers, and they are the worst hitters on the team. And they don't have much position flexibility. So, you know, I think there's the one thing I've always said about Cincinnati is this, like even on our show, and there's times people complain, this is a great town to play in. This is a great town to play in. The fan base will come alive like no other if you're good. And on top of that, if you're not good, it's not like a big market where they're going to absolutely just crush you. This is a slap on the wrist in this town, comparatively speaking to Philadelphia. So as far as guys feeling like they're under major pressure in this town, I don't buy it. So these guys have struggled, yes. They shouldn't be putting any more pressure on themselves than they probably already are, and hopefully they can find a way to dig themselves out. But the fact of the matter is the Reds won 8-4 on April 15th. Some call it tax day. Some don't. But, you know, hey. The Reds won 8-4. They're 9-8. Injury updates, Nick, and then we'll jump into Reds MILB.
Yeah, some injury updates, some pretty good stuff. Tyler Stevenson could start a rehab assignment next Tuesday. Reds taking it very slow with him, as you would understand, you know, being a catcher, but that's certainly a positive news that there's an actual date that they're targeting, because they've kind of been very kept in their thoughts on that. Wade Miley threw 3 innings in Arizona today and could start a rehab assignment soon. Talk about him in a second. And then Rhett Lauder threw a bullpen on Tuesday. He got up and down, so a little more than I think just your first bullpen. I'm guessing he's thrown a few at this point. So I don't think we need much of a conversation about Tyler. You know what? Let me ask you this about Tyler Stevenson. I mean, I think Tyler Stevenson is clearly would be a big help to this team. I've been very much against Tyler Stevenson DH or first base, but given kind of where the Reds are at, given that they've got Jose Trevino, who I don't know if we've really given Jose Trevino enough credit. I don't know if there is enough credit there, but the pitching's pitched very well. And does Trevino have any sort of help hand in that? I think it's possible. I mean, the guy was known as a elite defensive catcher and a great game caller, and the Reds, gave him a contract extension right before the season started. So there may be something with that. I wouldn't be opposed to DHing Tyler Stevenson a little bit more. I'm not completely abandoning catching by any means, but I wouldn't be against DHing him a little bit, especially kind of given where the Reds offense is right now. Now, maybe at some point, you get to a point where enough guys step up that you don't need him there, but I would fully support them DHing him a few times, at least where they're at now.
I think that let me just say a couple things. Austin Wynn's caught for Hunter Green the other day when he almost threw, basically complete game shutout. So I don't want to sit here and act as if it's all Trevino. The starting pitching is good. The bullpen has been good. How much of that's Trevino? Who knows? I will openly also say today, in a night like tonight, Trevino picked a ball out of the dirt, get runners on first and second. He misses that ball. Guys go to second and third. Game probably changes a little bit. It's just something you gloss over when you're watching the game because a guy made a play. You only really notice those mistakes when they don't make them, right? They get magnified. So I do think that there's some value, and you already know how I feel about the defensive side when it comes to just what this Reds team needs to be. They need to be solid fundamentally and fundamentally sound defensively for them to be even remotely competitive for this division, in my opinion. So the reason that Tyler Stevenson, we wanted him to catch, and we were so adamant about him catching, and you specifically, probably even when I first met you, you were pretty passionate about this, is that the value that Tyler Stevenson has from an overall league perspective when you're looking at it is catching, because then you kind of have a leg up there offensively over the rest of the league, or most of the rest of the league, when it comes to Tyler Stevenson. If you put Tyler Stevenson at first base or you put him at DH, immediately when you look at just Tyler Stevenson from an overall league value standpoint, he dwarfs, right? He's average at best at that point, maybe even a little bit below average at times, just because of his offensive output should not resemble what you should expect out of a first baseman and or a DH. But let's face it, that's the area right now that this Reds team is getting little to no production out of, oddly enough. How that came to be, I don't know. You can obviously figure it out on your own if you're a Reds fan why that is. But I'm with you, Nick. It's like I don't want to try to mess up the mojo that exists right now that is, hey, Trevino's a pretty solid defensive catcher. He seems to be I don't want to say meshing. He just seems to be meshing well with the flow of the team as well. Like it just seems like it makes sense to keep him there. And Tyler Stevenson also, from an injury history perspective, maybe it's nicer if he can DH or play first base every so often. I'm not opposed to it. I also think he's probably going to have to catch a couple times a week regardless. So if you want to consider him the backup catcher, but then also DHs and or plays first base a couple more times that week to where he's in the lineup almost every day, that's probably the path forward that makes the most sense. Whether they do that or not, I don't know. And he kind of feels like the same way that Espinal feels like, right, with DHing in first base. He kind of needs to get kicked out of that role at some point. So if someone else starts to play really, really well, and then all of a sudden this guy's hot and has a three or four hit day, and you feel like, you know what, I really want to keep this guy in the lineup. What do we do? Well, then just put Stevenson back behind the plate and we'll roll with it. But until then, we need anybody that can, hit water if they fell out of a boat in the lineup. And I think Tyler Stevenson would probably fit that role.
Yeah, Trevino has not caught more than 2 games in a row. It's been basically 2-1, 2-1 almost the whole season so far. So, yeah, I think if Stevenson just replaced wins and you still let, Trevino take about 60% of the starts, 60-70% of the starts, and then Stevenson DHs, I think that would be a good kind of way to ease Stevenson back in. Certainly, I would like the Reds DH to have a little bit higher ceiling than Tyler Stevenson, but I also would very much like the Reds DH to have a much higher floor like Tyler Stevenson has. So kind of where you're at, I would be all supporting that. The other thing that's interesting, Trace, is Wade Miley. Still a long ways to go because they're obviously going to exhaust, as long as they can keep him down in the minors, unless they're starting pitching injuries. But could create a pretty interesting situation. Let's say Nick Martinez is still, okay. Let's say, Andrew Abbott maybe scuffles a little bit. Do they put Wade Miley into the rotation if he pitches well in Louisville just to kind of keep an extra arm? Because he does have an opt-out. That's kind of the interesting, kind of caveat with Wade Miley. And if he goes and pitches well in AAA, you better believe someone across baseball is going to want his services.
Yeah, he's like, is Andrew, not Andrew Abbott, is Wade Miley going to be the Mike Ford of this year? This guy's sitting down there. He throws the ball really, really well, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, we got to get this guy up here. We got to get him up here, or else he's gonna leave." And then he does leave, comes back. I don't know. I'm not gonna make much about Wade Miley. I thought the guy was cooked a couple years ago. Turns out he wasn't totally cooked. I guess I'll give you this. If I want to play this game that you're playing right now, I'm not gonna go too far down this rabbit hole because I don't think it exists. But let me play your fun little game here. I think that if there's a semblance of a chance that if the bullpen struggles a little bit and Wade Miley's throwing the ball pretty well, I think that they would consider moving Martinez to the bullpen in spurts to try to bolster up maybe a hole down there that they think that exists. Currently it doesn't. But if Ashcraft were to, and that's the other thing too. You're talking about injuries from a starting pitching perspective. I would even say there's a chance for an injury or two from a bullpen perspective that could also allow maybe Wade Miley to find himself in the starting rotation because Nick Martinez does have that flexibility, and that's just kind of the nature of the beast, which is Nick Martinez, right? It's kind of like as soon as you show you can do something in the workplace, even though, especially if you show that you're one of the better people at it, even though you might not deserve to get demotion or deserve to be told you have to do these things, it's almost like, hey, you do it because you're the best at it. You're the only guy that can do it, so you go do that. And that seems like Nick Martinez might find himself in that situation a few times this year.
Yeah, I know everyone's just move Nick Martinez to the bullpen. I'm interested to see what Nick Martinez, how he bounces back from these first three starts, because he was really, really good as a starting pitcher at the end of last year.
Yeah.
It's 3 starts, and in those 3 starts, he pitched pretty well early in those starts, just ran into trouble at the end. So we'll see. We'll see what Nick Martinez does. That's going to be a big – there's a lot of factors that go into what you would do with Wade Miley. He is certainly someone, though, to kind of keep your eyes on and on what's going on with the big league team. I love that he's an option. I love that he's an option. Starting pitching right now feels great. Everyone's excited. Everyone is over the moon about it.
Right.
But it can also falter really quickly too. So I refuse to ever get too high on a starting pitching staff.
Nick Martinez also, if we remember last year, struggled a little bit as a starter, got moved to the bullpen for a short amount of time. Injuries then occurred again from the starting pitching perspective, got moved back to that starting role, Nick, and then pitched really, really well the rest of the year. So I'm not suggesting that they have to do the exact same thing, but maybe he's a slow starter from a starting pitching perspective. And that's one way to look at it possibly. But to be very clear, I don't know if I came off this way. To be very clear, I'm not out on Nick Martinez being a starter. He can continue being a starter. I'm just trying to provide glimpses as to reasons as to why he would move to certain areas because he's capable of doing it while others aren't. Simple as that. All right, moving on. We're going to do Reds MILB. Then we got some more supers, got some members as well. Don't want to miss any of those. And maybe who knows what this show shall go after that.
All right, we'll start off with AAA. The Louisville Bats fell 6-2 to Columbus. Bats now 8-8 on the season. Benson 0 for 3 with a walk, did steal a bag. Tyler Callahan keeps on hitting. 2 balls hit over 102 miles per hour, now hitting .328 with a .963 OPS after going 2 for 4. Reese Hines 0 for 3. Vaughn Johnson also continues to hit 2 for 4 with a double. That double hit .110 off the bat. Vaughn Johnson hitting .400 with a OPS over 1,000. Will Banfield 2 for 34 now this season. That's an .459 batting average. And Luis May only faced 2 batters, came in after Brian Shaw literally just completely melted down again, but retired both batters that he faced. Luis May has he's only allowed 1 run in 4 2/3 innings this season. Chattanooga, they lost 5-4 to Knoxville. It's now Knoxville. It used to be the Tennessee Smokies. They moved to Knoxville, a really nice new stadium downtown Knoxville. Lookouts fall to 3-5 on the season. And on the night that Luis Castillo faced the Reds, Edwin Arroyo back activated off the IL. He was 0 for 3 with a walk, so that's good to see. I wasn't sure how long he was going to be out, but good to see it was not very long. Sal Stewart 0 for 3. Hector Rodriguez, big day for him, 3 for 4 with a double. Ethan O'Donnell, 1 for 3. And Austin Hendrick, maybe heating up a little bit, 1 for 3, double walk, and a stolen base. All right, now to where the Reds minor leagues really had some big offensive nights. Dayton, they won 10-2 over Great Lakes. Dragons now 4-6 on the season. Yerlin Confidant, 2 for 5 with a walk. Leo Balcazar, 2 for 4 with a walk. Peyton Stovall played for the first time this season. This was the Reds' 4th round pick last season. Walked 3 times in his debut. And then Reds' 13th round pick last season out of Virginia, Anthony Steffen, had a big day. 3 for 6 with a homer and a triple. Not the best start for Nestor Laurent. Only went 2 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. And then the wild game of the night, Daytona won 17-6 over Jupiter. The 2 teams combined for 23 runs, but the 2 teams only had 11 hits. There were 7 unearned runs and 4 errors in the game. Tortuga is now 5-5 on the season. Sammy Staforo walked 4 times, stole a base. Alfredo Duno, 0 for 6 with 3 strikeouts. What a weird game. Carlos Sanchez had a really good day, 2 for 4 with a homer, drove in 6 runs. And then Ovis Portes, the Lucas Sims return last year, 2 2/3, 1 hit, 4 unearned runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, and pretty decent outing from Cole Schoenwetter. 4 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. That is your Reds MILB.
Looks like there's no update yet on Carlos Jorge. Obviously, he ran into the wall. Try to keep an eye on that and get an update whenever we get to a spot where we know more about that, unless you know something right now that I don't know.
Well, I'll pull up the transaction, see if they officially placed him on the IL. Doesn't look like they officially placed him on the IL. Sometimes they're just not quick on that.
Right. Something to keep an eye on. Would be nice to see that not be as serious of an injury as maybe it was once thought as he got carted off the field. Maybe they were super precautious is a term we'd like to use. All right, we do have more baseball. It is coming at your way tomorrow. We have some more who, what, when, where, and why. Some more good pitching.
Yeah, Reds. Nick Martinez up against Bryce Miller. Nick Martinez in his career 0-3, 4.41 ERA against the Seattle Mariners. Last year, though, with the Reds, 4 innings, just 1 run, 3 strikeouts, no walks. Active Mariners against Martinez, 10 for 31, only 1 home run. That comes off the bat of Rowdy Tellez, who we did not see in the lineup because Reds were they're facing a lefty, of course. The Reds will be going up against Bryce Miller. Bryce Miller had a great season last year, 2.94 ERA in 31 starts. Up to an up and down start to this season, but coming off his best start, just really dominated the Rangers last time out. 5 innings, 2 hits, just 1 run in that one. And Bryce Miller's made 2 starts against the Reds, 1 each of the last 2 years. 2023, 5 innings, 1 run. 2024, 6 innings, 1 run. So the Reds will have their work cut out. Elly De La Cruz, though, has a home run against him, and Gavin Lux has a home run against him in his career. So maybe tomorrow can be Gavin Lux's first home run in a Cincinnati Reds uniform.
I looked at the probables before the series started. I thought Wu was going tomorrow. That is not going to be the case. Apparently, he's not going until Thursday.
Wu is going Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, Wu is going Thursday.
Yeah. So I guess it's still good pitching. Not as good as I thought. Tomorrow, to be clear. Thursday, Singer and Wu. We'll see how it goes. But All right, we got some more traditions. Let me do the super chats here before we get to that, though. We got a good amount tonight. I appreciate everybody supporting this show. Thank you so much for spreading the word. And it's kind of crazy to think back on when we first started this thing. We got 20 people watching opening day show just a few short years ago, and this community's built up this fast, and it's really just because of the people in the chat, to be honest. The people that watch this show religiously, listen to the podcast. One thing we haven't had in a while, Nick, that I would hope, we got a lot of people in here that I would ask a quick favor of. If you don't mind, on the podcast, if you listen to podcast form on Spotify and or Apple, if you could go and leave a review, preferably 5 stars, of course. But if you could leave a review for us, that would be very much appreciated. We kind of slowed down in that area, and it's kind of stifled us a little bit in regards to maybe just the suggestive podcasts, if you want to call it that, on those platforms. We'd appreciate it. Obviously, if you've already done it, thank you so much. But also, as always, thank you for supporting the show. Even if you don't do any of that, that's fine by us as well. Fireball, that's already happened. Harrow, member for 18 months, man. That's an OG. Keep Diaz away from the 9th inning, he says. That's what he wanted to let us know as a member for 18 months. Thank you, Harrow. John Thomas says, I can't wait for the postseason block party. That'll be a thing. We got big old video screens. We'll create a big old block party. We will do an away postseason show. We will do that. An away game postseason block party, to be clear. Thank you, John. Sean Krutka says, any chance CES is sent down to gain confidence? At some point, yes. I don't think it's anytime soon, because I think the Reds want to kind of see this thing through a little bit longer and make sure that they don't send him down and then all of a sudden he gets red hot, and then they kind of played him during the times in which he has struggled. He's done this in the past, Nick. I mean, he's struggled a little bit and then he's gotten red hot. I don't see it unless maybe when Stevenson comes back and he's healthy and he looks the part and somebody else gets hot, then it might happen.
Yeah, again, I would have been all for putting him on the IL when he had to miss 2 games and there was that report, but I just have to assume that the injury was not nearly as severe as that report indicated. I just, would remind people that there's only 3 players on the Reds that have hit 2 home runs this year, and CES is one of them. Yeah. So you need to hit some home runs, especially for a lineup that's not deep. I mean, CES is definitely, and I think CES and Jeimer Candelario are the 2 players that I get everyone's frustrated with, but I don't have to squint and say those guys have a monster week where they, each hit a couple home runs and you feel completely different about them. There's some other players on this roster where I just don't see that happening right now. And I'm not going to be negative tonight on those. I think people probably know who those are, but that's why I'm a little higher on CES and Candelario, because we've seen in recent memory those guys get hot and hit for power, something I do think this team needs.
One other thing I want to mention on CES, the ball he hit tonight, he kind of got fisted a little bit inside part of the plate, didn't hit it what seemed like overly great to right field, and it was a cold night and the ball got to the edge of the warning track. Like that, to me, sometimes you see that happen and you're like, man, on a hot summer day, he's just going to accidentally hit some home runs. And again, I'm not suggesting that you just hold on to him just merely for the fact that he's going to get lucky a couple times in the middle of the summer. But he did play good defense tonight. Just hold out a little bit of hope for a little bit longer for CES. We'll see how long we can go. All right. Rolf says, my super chat has been terrified. One day this joke will be funny. No politics. ATOBTTR. All right. There you go, Rolf. Coming in hot. It's got 4 likes and 1 comment. Big Red Machine says, you know how much I love the Big Red Machine. CES needs to work it out here in Cincy. Rather have him at first base than Candy. Besides, without Steer, we need 2 first basemen. He will be fine. Yeah. We'll see. I'll openly say Candelario's look bad. I get it. I don't know if he's going to get himself out of it or not, but he also looked terrible last year. And over the course, the one thing about Candelario that I will admit if you look at his career in general, he's kind of had some really bad, what I would call down years, and then he's bounced right back and had great years. So the guy's never been a model of consistency in the first place, Nick. So I guess that's where I'm holding on to a little bit of hope with Candelario, is that this guy is the Alexis Diaz of corner.
It's a great
infielders.
That's a great way of saying that.
Yeah. So at some point, maybe this guy gets hot. He looks unbelievable, but there are times where you just think to yourself, like, just get me out of here. I'm tired of seeing it.
You know, I had a thought. I won't belabor this too long, but I had a thought today because there's a lot of conversation with Castillo coming back about Eugenio Suarez being the one that kind of got away, and it's like, look at Eugenio Suarez the last couple of years. I mean, there were times that guy, the Diamondbacks were trying to give him away and send some cash to get rid of him. And then there's times where he's looked like an all-star. I think Candelario and Suarez are very similar players. Now, I would take Suarez's defense certainly over Candelario because I think Suarez is a much better defender. But offensively, I think they're very similar players in terms of just they're going to be very streaky. There's going to be times where you think they're not even a big leaguer, but they're 1 month away from you completely changing your whole opinion on them.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, we're so early in the season right now that it's probably a bad idea to go out and say something crazy as a hot take because, as I've said before, you get halfway through the season or 3/4 of the way through the season and you kind of laugh at yourself for saying such a thing. As I remind everybody, there's nothing more apparent than that when in 2023, the first month of the season, there were very notable figures that were just dogging the Reds bullpen, talking about how it's the only thing going to hold this team back. And when I tell you it was quite literally the only thing on their team that was consistently above average all year, that's what it was. And I'm hopeful Candelario proves a lot of us wrong. We'll see. Realtor named house. He said block party in Chicago. We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it up to Chicago for a block party, but I might visit Chicago possibly. I haven't been to Wrigley in a long time. Like I went when I was a kid. I feel like it's time to go back. I want to give it an honest review. You know, I kind of want to see half the fan base of the Reds thinks it's a dump. Half of them admit that it's cool. I gotta go back and as an adult try this out.
I haven't been since they've renovated it, so I'm curious too. It was I'm with you. I thought it was kind of like it was cool, but it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't incredible. It was no Fenway, that's for sure.
That's fair. J Madden said, "Pump your chair up, Trace." Listen, that's a hilarious thing. I don't know if you guys have seen me, but there's like 9 times out of 9, at least 9 to 10 times in the show, you'll see me pull one of these. My chair is too short, okay? I got to build a platform to get, it's like a standing desk. I got to get my chair up a little higher. It's the one thing that I quite literally hate about my setup. It is so bad. I'm always just like fighting the good fight of trying to stay high. So we shall see. I got to get like, I don't know what, some extenders or something. We'll see. Rolf chimes in with a super chat saying, this super chat is terrified of tariffs. 446 watching, 336 likes. Congrats, Trace and Nick. You are one winning season away from billions.
Billions.
Dude, you know what's funny is that is actually funny. Man, we're just trying to keep the lights on at Chatterbox Sports half the time. You know, that's the crazy thing. Like, you know, we really are. So we're fighting the good fight out here. You know, there's times where it's like, I'm trying to get sponsorships, and you know, they're like, oh, you know, what are your numbers? Blah blah blah. Here's my numbers, and it's like, oh man, these two guys in a basement. We'll go spend our hard-earned dollars with the people that have professional microphones in a big studio at a big station that exists in town. And it's like, really? Are you sure? Because I got 448 loyal people watching me right now that love our show, and we love them. I don't know. Seems like we pack a bigger punch around here. But who knows? Maybe we don't. I think we do. All right, folks. We have traditions to keep up. Nick's got a pillow that he loves to do the swiping on every night. Nice. Good work, Nick. Very nice. Very nice. And I also bought some equipment today that should be here in a couple days that will allow me to hopefully do something that I think is going to be pretty cool for the dunk. But in the meantime, you're going to have to deal with just the swivel. The swivel. Someone said clip it. I don't know. I don't know what I said. Hopefully I didn't say anything bad. All right. Did I say something bad, Nick? I feel like I said something that's I didn't mean to say.
I think it was you didn't say anything bad. I think you said something about fisting a baseball was what, and I think it was just the phrasing. Kind of like Reed the other day talking about a threesome in golf, and gave me a really good opportunity to clip up a very lovely clip. See, I can't even talk, but that's why you got to join our Discord, because we put stuff like that up there, for you to see. I'll put a link in the chat.
I'm great. For those that are wondering, I'm great. I'm great, Charlie. I appreciate you worrying about me. Last thing I want to say, I had one thing I almost forgot about saying. Last thing I'm going to say before I head off here. We got a nice message, Nick. I don't even know if you've seen this, but I'm going to read it to you anyways if you haven't seen it. Bill Murphy, he lives in New York. He watches this show. He says, I live in Western New York, 2 hours south of Buffalo, and I've been a Reds fan since 75. He's a big Red Machine guy. And he said, I'm going to die a Reds fan. I want to tell you guys how much I love your post-game shows. It's the best thing that's happened to me in my life since the 90 wire-to-wire season. So when the Reds are losing and you guys don't feel like doing the show, just remember how great and what you guys are doing is for me. And when I get zero Reds news, and I've been through a lot of bad seasons, but I will say this, I'd rather suffer through a bad season than not have Reds baseball at all. And when we do rise again, and we will, it will be that much sweeter. Thanks a million for what you do. It means the world to me. With love and respect, Bill Murphy. Hell yeah, Bill. Fire me up, baby. Because you know what? When times are tough, you find out who has it good and who doesn't have it good. And one day, when you get to taste the bittersweetness of nothing but joy and passion and love for the Cincinnati Reds when they're hoisting that World Series trophy, and damn it, if I die before they do it, I'm going to still try like hell watching it. It's just gonna be that much better. Could you imagine being a Dodgers fan? Could you imagine? Oh my God! Look who we signed. We signed the best pitcher in baseball. We got the foreign guy this year that's supposed to break all the records. He's coming in. Oh, what are we supposed to do with the number one prospect in baseball, and Gavin Lux? We'll just trade him away. We don't need him. We don't need this. We don't need that. We're supposed to win 140 games this year. If we don't, we're going to be pissed. What a miserable existence that is. What a miserable existence. You know what's fun? Arguing over whether Santiago Espinal should be playing over Noelvi Marte. That's fun. That's what life's about. And life's also about this dunk. So yeah, I'm doing great. And Bill Murphy, shout out to you. I'll be back better than ever tomorrow, and I hope you will be too. Win or lose. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to go dunk a basketball, and we're all going to go to bed very happy.